So I've been playing Fighting Force. Streets of Rage was a series of 2D beat-em-ups by Sega, blah blah blah, generic intro. Though unlike the lame and normie beat-em-ups one saw in the SNES, it would be urban, edgy, and styling. And I mean, just look at this box art. You got your man over here strangling his girlfriend or whatever, literally every building being on fire for no reason, dude shooting an assault rifle, and of course, the centerpiece, Sega Shoe. But it was a 2D game, and 2D is old and dumb and not radical, thus requiring a 3D sequel for the hit console that nobody owned, the Sega Saturn. Not to mention that Sega themselves hadn't quite figured out that 3D thing just yet, thus forcing them to outsource to Core, only to then swoop the license up mid-development, as I'm sure it made sense at the time, thus giving us So you'd think the change in perspective would bring hella innovates, but really shit ain't changed much at all. Similarly to its 2D ilk, you run along a linear path, stopping at blockades to kick a quota of ass before pass. Shit explodes and you can wield just about any object as a weapon, and generally the game is much like a string of fancy assets and rooms in which you beat up dudes. And you can pick and choose from these 4 abominations. Hawk Mason, our leading lad, who basic, Mace Daniel, who also basic, Ben Smasher Jackson, who is the Hulk but fat and thus able to pick up and throw big items but also slow, and Alana McKendricks, who is the girl, so she does the least damage of all, and yeah, that's it really. And these 4 fuckos form the Fighting Force, a special unit tasked with taking down Dr. Dex Zeng as he plans to... And that's the only line of dialogue in the entire game. It opens up strong enough though, with a cinematic flyby of this colorful city as a helicopter drops you off straight into the action, beat up suits, kick the car, and blast the fence with a rocket launcher. Okay. Yep, that's 1 literal minute on the start to bazooka ratio. Impressive. Controls though are a bit stiff, so to say, but competently so. Square does kicks, X does punches, triangle does both but behind you, and circle do jump. At first it seemed kinda weird to have a dedicated behind you button, but it didn't take long to find out why it be. See, the movement isn't great, as the default walking speed is walk. A very, very slow walk that isn't exactly tanky, but will still have an arc to it, making it feel sorta laggy. Now, of course, there is a run button, i.e. holding down R1, but the problem with that is that you can only then do running moves like sliding or rolling or dashing into people, which is fun on its own for sure, but it doesn't help the fact that facing your opponent can be a tad awkward, as much like many other beat-em-ups, the lock-on will be automatic, and you also obviously need to be close to a dude to hit him, which is fuck when the movement is an issue to begin with. So it's one of those, where you feel like you're underwater or waving through mud on your way to your hits actually landing, often finding yourself punching the air in a vain attempt to beat a brother who just sidestepped out of your way while someone else walks up to punch you from behind. Which would be where the behind button comes in if it weren't for the fact that animations need to finish, given that all moves have a cooldown of sorts, so even if you fuck up only an inch and your split-second ninja reaction time already notice, you can't do a single fucking thing about it. This can be especially annoying with setback punches, ironically enough, as you just might turn and lock onto someone diagonally in front, thus fucking up the back trajectory that you had pushed the back button for in the first place. Also, X is the pick up item button, and there's items fucking everywhere, and yeah, I don't think I even need to say how this can be an issue. Can be, but usually won't be. Yeah, I know. The game is kinda stiff and awkward for sure, but none of that really comes as a detriment to the experience as a whole, as it's just too fucking simple of a game. It is literally a 2D beat 'em up in 3D. There's no combos, no elaborate systems layered upon tech, layered upon mechanics. Guys just run in from off screen, some legit being called dude, and you will beat that dude with beefy punches, or perhaps a broken bottle, pipe, bat, bazooka, gun, knife, a wheel, whatever the fuck you call this car part, and a fucking shotgun to end all shotguns. And each will handle just a smidge differently enough to make up for its old school combo deficiency, and landing hits feels pretty good too, maybe even because it isn't as easy to pull off as it should have been. The animations are super duper exaggerated, with dudes having hella knockback and sound effects that are about as thick and crunchy as Minecraft Steve. And you can also smash just about everything on screen as well, from vending machines and entire cars to exploding park benches. It's cathartic in the same way that the game King of Crusher was, being that, yes, you are in a janky-ass PS1 game, but you are also able to rebel against said jank by smashing its jittery low-poly garbage to absolute bits. Not to mention how Triangle can also let you grab motherfuckers, allowing you to pull off uppercuts and throws from the grab stance, as well as all of the running moves I mentioned earlier that let you court around and bowling pin entire groups of literal dudes asunder. It kinda reminds me of Sega's Dynamite Cop games, just nowhere near as zany due to the lack of any and all plot. Though, to its credit, you can pick from multiple paths here and there, which is sorta like, exploration. And with the 4 characters too, who will all fight a smidge differently, it does end up having a decent amount of content still. Or at least from what I expected to be a 1-hour game. This is more like a 4-hour game. And also, more importantly, what it lacks in story and good gameplay and characters and length, it makes up for sorta kinda maybe I guess by how unapologetically itself it is. Straight up, level 2 starts by motorcycle boys very slowly driving into you and exploding upon impact, and then a helicopter shoots you for no reason, and then this resi truck barrels down the streets toppling cars by the dozen, only for this dude called Driver to come out with pink hair, and it's like, yeah, okay. And then in the next level, there'll be a train that'll indiscriminately dispense TNT, and yeah. However, it does certainly feel like a game stripped off of its license, so to say. Like, I don't know how far along the development was as a Streets of Rage games, but these characters, the villains and the general jobbers, look a fuck of a whole lot more generic than they did in their SOR days, and I imagine that their backstories have been left there too. You see, Fighting Force literally doesn't have any more story than... For real, the final boss just walks up no fanfare after a loading screen, burps at you a few times, and then it blow. Newspaper, sad boy in jail, credits. Not a single word is spoken, nor is there even a text scroll. Just nothing. Though, it does keep the aesthetic, luckily. These city skyboxes are legit pretty, and I love the color palette they have going here too. It's very 90s, that's for sure. Big office buildings a la Shinra, Trag, and Die Hard PS1, ghetto-ass blow-barrel back alley straight out of Parasite Evil 2, Time to Kill, and also Army Base. Plus, we got those Mortal Kombat fonts, knuckles on denim that look Tekken and Resi as fuck, and all in all, shit's pretty poppin' in that not at all poppin' kind of way, but then I am nostalgic for PS1 games, so I can't really bring myself to tell it that. I mean, you enter the train station by punching the cart ticket scanny gates until they explode. Clearly, this train level is an allegory for how the characters need to come to terms with their inner woes and psychological trauma. So many dicks. And dolphin blowholes can make for pretty decent fleshlights as long as you try. And besides, the music sits perfectly in that PS1 demo disc menu realm, and that it's clearly just some quite lazily thrown together loops from a 90s sample pack, but then I'd be lying if I said that it didn't fit like a snug dolphin. What is a big shame though is that it really could have done with some House of the Dead tier voice acting. Like, I likened it to Dynamite Cop earlier, and that game has shit like...
We have a situation down there. Some modern-day pirates have hijacked a huge cruiser. They're holding 2,000 hostages inside, including the president's daughter. We have to invade the ship, clear the pirates, and rescue the hostages, especially the president's daughter.
Yet here, all we have is... And I will admit that this office with the skyline smashing windows is fucking aesthetic as fuck, but it ain't no Goldman scene either. Though, I guess for what it's worth, the save menu sounds are actual gunshots, so... Basically, what I'm saying is that it's dumb fun. Unremarkable, yeah, but then I can't deny how it made me giggle like a schoolgirl whenever things just explode for no reason. You kinda end up forgetting how frustratingly broken the game feel is as you begin to appreciate its dumb hokey 90s action Hank vibes. I mean, it's far too easy to get hung up over shit anyway. Tone the difficulty down for all I care, just smash through hundreds of literally actually no shits given dudes named dudes and punch a fucking jet until it blows. Sure, enemies are just reskins who won't find any differently from one another aside from having bigger life bars, and maybe that then also means that they keep the same names, resulting in green berets with stripper names, and yes, very sadly, it also loses its luster a fair bit near the end, seeing as the last two stages are just dude closets. But then, I did go back for round 2 just to see the other areas, so it can't possibly be all bad. Like I said, it's on 2D beat-em-up level. People often shit on 3D beat-em-ups while praising the 2D ones, but as an avid fan of both dimensions, I fail to see how they differ at all. Sure, Devil May Cry and God Hand and the Yakuza series would all drastically evolve the genre in different ways overnight, but that doesn't mean that this is suddenly worse than, say, Final Fight for it not innovating. Structurally, it is the same, mechanically it is the same, and even shit like the punching the air issue isn't at all exclusive to 3D, as the 2D ones would also have foreign background dimensions, often resulting in the dudes above you being able to kick your head whilst you couldn't punt away at their feet as they were too high, so it's the same shit. You kick the junkie, he turns into a hot dog, you eat it, life.